Welcome to Head to Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Markham. This bi-weekly podcast is created to be a safe space to admit what we truly believe in our hearts. And many of us, when we take the time to truly examine ourselves, will find some sort of shame, fear, or lies hiding in there. And it is never God's will for us to stay in bondage to those. It's His truth that sets us free from them. But there's a huge difference between having biblical knowledge floating around in our heads and actually believing that it's true. Until God's truth makes its way into our hearts, nothing changes. We'll be doing a mix of solo episodes and interviews with friends who have experienced the freedom that comes when head knowledge becomes heart knowledge. We'll also have a time of prayer where you will have a chance to respond to what God is inviting you into at the end of each episode. The truth will set you free so you can walk every day in the freedom God desires for you. It's time to let go of shame, fear, and lies. Those aren't yours to carry. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Head to Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Markham. I'm bringing a very special guest today. And today we're going to be answering a lot of questions that have been sent in by listeners. So if you sent us a question about dating, we will be answering it. This is very exciting. So we have Danielle Hanlon. Well, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, but it's spelled Hanlon.
Yeah. Actually, after my wedding, my grandma texted me the next morning and said, "Good morning, Mrs. Hamlin." And I was like, "Grandma, were you at the wedding?"
Grandma.
That's not even close at all. And she's one of those grandmas that really has her wits about her. So
She's fully there.
She's fully there. And so I got Hamlin from her. We've gotten Highland before on an invitation. So Hanlon, I'll take it.
That's better than Hamlet. So let's introduce yourself, okay? So who you are, what you do, and then talk about how we became friends.
Yeah, well, I'm Danielle Hanlon, if you will. I work for an anti-trafficking organization called She Is Safe, and I do international trafficking prevention work. It's a Christian organization, and it's really, really excellent work. I really love it. Jenny and I became friends through a small group at our church. Mm-hmm. We live in the Minneapolis area in Minnesota, which I'm sure she said on this before.
I don't know if I have.
Oh my goodness, I've exposed your location.
It doesn't really matter. But have I? Maybe a long time ago. Go on.
Well, so if you've never heard.
Surprise! My address is.
She's in Minnesota somewhere around the Twin Cities area. But we go to church together, and we were in a young couples life group.
We're still in it.
Which we're still in, which is really a blast. And I think it was probably over 6 months of being in the life group till we were really actual friends.
Because sometimes you're in whatever group and you have said agenda. So, okay, let's go through this book or whatever. Then we did like a service project and got out of someone's living room. Mm-hmm. And then I realized you're like so funny. I was like, why have you been keeping this a secret? You're hilarious.
And see, I liked Jenny because will laugh at so many things. And
she thinks I'm funny.
I'm someone that just really likes another person that's a good audience, but is also funny as well. And I think we give that to each other. We both laugh enough and we joke enough that it's really always a good time. Now in small group, you can't get us to shut up.
We just want to stop talking.
I hope people enjoyed the first 6 months because it will never go back to how it was before.
I hope they like the quiet because it's gone. It's gone now.
It's gone forever. We bring the humor to the group. But that's how Jay and I really became friends. At that kind of service day, we were folding clothes and sorting clothes for charity shop.
Like a thrift store.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we were sorting through the donations and we just got to talking. We'd both done things internationally. So I think we started bonding over my most embarrassing cultural blunders. And you laughed so hard at all of them. I was like, oh, she thinks I'm so funny.
This is so nice to have such a friendly audience.
Finally, the first person who found me funny. And then it was history. We really have not stopped laughing since, at small group, outside of small group. Mm-hmm. We have probably extended our own lives about 10 years each. So it's really been a healthy friendship in so many ways.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. You told it well. So let's jump into the main question of what have you been set free from? Go ahead. Take it away.
In terms of dating, I'm sure you're
Yes,
asking.
I specifically asked about that, yeah.
I'm going to sit down and list you every single thing.
Thing.
In terms of dating, I think when we were talking and brainstorming what have I been set free from, I think the thing that came up for me was men are going to be like really sexually promiscuous. They're going to have really strong sex drives, and you are just going to have to fend them off the whole time you're dating. You have to be the strong one. If you and them decide, like you guys decide, you know, we're following the Lord, we want to be pure before marriage, we're not going to have sex, you have to be the one that like fends them off, because they're 100% going to be actively addicted to porn, they're going to be involved in all these things, and you just have to like fend them off. And I really was convinced that that's what relationship was going to be like. And so with my husband, he was totally different from that, and he was like, no, this is normal. And then the Lord revealed to me that men do in fact have self-control. And it was something I had to be set free from. I really thought I was going to do it alone. I had all these ideas of men because I had maybe some bad men in my past, not bad men, but men with different ideas of what purity was that reinforced what I was thinking that I needed to be set free from. And the Lord set me free from that. I think another thing would just be a lot of insecurity in dating. I think it led to a lot of relationships I shouldn't have been in, or things I'd done with men in the past that I shouldn't have, just because of an insecurity in my own identity. Mm-hmm. So I think the Lord set me free from those things. I think also commitment issues. I guess that's classic. Just a classic thing where you're just like, oh my goodness, how would I ever commit to someone for forever? I was like, that sounds horrible. And now it sounds like the best thing in the world. But
I think this topic came up because we were talking about what we were like when we were dating. Mm-hmm. You've been married for 2.5 years. Yeah. I know that because you got married 1 week before me.
We always joke that since I have a week of wisdom over Jenny, she has to come to us with marriage advice.
I always ask them for
of course, because
all
we
problems,
have a whole week on her.
All advice.
We are a week ahead, so we can really speak into where they're in marriage because we are 1 week further into it.
I drink in their wisdom. And we were talking about, wow, yeah, I used to believe that too. I used to think that too. So we thought it'd be very helpful to share what we've come out of. Now we're both married, and sometimes we look back at different beliefs we had in dating, and wow, how could I have ever thought that was really unhealthy? Or I just wish everyone who's dating currently would understand that that's not true. Mm-hmm. So we got a lot of questions from listeners, and so many of them were about how to start dating without being weird about it, because so many of us in the Christian world, we tend to over-spiritualize things and overthink, and we think, oh, I should know that this is my husband before we get serious, or anything like that. So we broke it down into 3 phases. We're going to answer every question that was asked to us. The first phase, if you want to start dating or have healthy relationships, phase 1, get informed. Just learn as much as you can. And you're already doing that by listening to this podcast episode. So congratulations, you were ahead of the curve.
Step 1 has
congratulations.
Been accomplished.
Applause.
We are so proud of you.
We are already proud of you. The first listener question we got was, do you have any book or podcast recommendations for this topic? And we do. Lucky you. So the ones I thought of were podcasts. I thought of Heart of Dating podcast. It's incredible. This couple has topics on every little topic that could possibly come up in dating. And the lady who started it, her name is Kate. She started it when she was still single. So I think that's inspiring of like, she didn't wait till she was married to start interviewing people and start this calling on her life. And then the other podcast is called Love Plus Relationships with Deborah Falletta. And she's a relationship therapist. So it's really good. Go ahead.
They sound really good. I had 2 books. Love That Lasts by Jeff and Alyssa Betsky. That is something I read before I was ever dating. Someone had given it to me and I was like, this looks lame. Like, I'm not in a relationship.
Because there's a cartoon on the cover.
Yeah, there's a cartoon on the cover. And I was also just under the impression, like, I'm not dating anyone. Why should I have to learn, like, anything about marriage or healthy relationships? Like, why would I have to do my homework.
That doesn't apply to me.
I'm someone that does my homework in
class before it's due,
or on the bus on the way there. That's how you could describe me. So I was like, why would I do my homework now? It's like Nick in New Girl, if you've listened, and he's like, it's called the due date, so I'm gonna do them today.
On that date. I had a professor in college who would say, this is the due date, not the D-O date, but the D-U-E date.
So that's what I always think about. But I did read it, and it was really, really excellent. I think they have really good takes on just healthy relationships in general, which kind of prime you to figure out, what do I need to work on before I get into that? And then I'm a big John Mark Comer fan. I talk about him all the time.
Mm-hmm. You literally won't stop.
I literally love that man so much in like a non-weird fangirl type of way.
Fangirl, I've never met him type of way.
He's just so wise and can really just speak into things that just really spiritually deep topics in just a really tangible and like chewable way. You know, you can take small bites of really in-depth spiritually mature topics, and I really like that. It's accessible. His book called Loveology really goes into that. It starts at marriage, which if you're not dating one, again, you might be the same way where you're like, I'm not touching that. It's a married book. But he starts at marriage and untangles it into sexuality and sex and like even the purpose of that, and really good things to understand what is actually the purpose for all of this. So even like, why would I even spend my life trying to find a spouse or someone to marry? And so it's really, really excellent. He breaks it down from the beginning, and it's a short read. It's not very long. It's like 140 pages around. So I would recommend those books if you're book people. Otherwise, podcasts and this podcast.
Of course. Head to heart, we highly recommend.
10 out of 10 if you want some more information. Yeah.
Our second listener question that was sent in it's a hard one, and I'm so glad someone asked this, but it's, how much do you think you have to be emotionally or spiritually ready or healed to start dating? Now, a common mistake people make with this is they overthink, and they think, well, I'm not just going to go on a simple date with someone because I don't know, like maybe if I want to be in a relationship, that means that I'm not yet fully satisfied in God. But that's not true. You can be fully satisfied in the Lord, know who you are in Christ, and still want to be in a relationship. That's not wrong or bad.
That's really good. I was actually just reading this in Loveology. But John Mark Comer really kind of breaks this idea down, where he's talking about how when God made everything, the animals, and he made Adam, he looked at Adam and he said, this is not good. And you probably may have heard that if you've been in church for a while. It's the first time God himself says this is not good. And he saw that Adam needed a pair. And that doesn't mean, again, that, and he talks about this even as well, that you need to get married. That's a whole other topic to go into of singleness. And that doesn't mean you need to be married. That means you need relationship. That means you need intimate relationship. But wanting that spouse or that husband, that wife, is not wrong. God created us for those really, really deep, intimate relationships. And for the majority of people, it's marriage. And so I think wanting to date and wanting to pursue that is not wrong. It doesn't mean you're not satisfied with God. God himself is in a trinity. He's in relationship in general. So you wanting that relationship that's incredibly intimate and fully known and exciting and romantic, I think it's natural. I think it can get misconstrued if you make it an idol or if you want it more than the Lord. But the wanting is not bad. Not bad. Doesn't mean you're unsatisfied in God.
You were saying something before we recorded for this question that was like, there are some things that can be healed in relationship or something like that.
Yeah.
Talk more. Say more words.
Yeah. So I think when you're talking about this idea of how healed do I need to be ready to date, Jenny and I were talking before this, and this even relates to my own personal experience. Some things can only be healed in relationship. There's a lot of things that God uses other people to speak into and heal. And maybe for people who've had bad relationships, your spouse that's a healthy relationship heals a lot of those things that you probably really can't heal alone. I mean, the Lord works on you in healing in a lot of different ways, but he uses other people as ways to help you heal. Healing in community is a beautiful, wonderful thing. It's another reason that God intended us to be in community and be in deep, intimate relationships.
We always think that we're perfect until we get into relationships with people. It's like, why would you need to be patient with just you or have self-control with just you? Maybe sometimes, but then you get into new friendships, new relationships, and you're like, oh, I have things to work on. I
have things that I'm not healed from. There are things that are triggering me.
So that doesn't mean that you should automatically break up with someone if you notice some things that still need to be healed. It's
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are certain things I would say that definitely need to be healed. I think we were talking something like really intense sexual sin, like active sexual addictions. That is something that could really destroy a healthy relationship. And that is something that really should be taken care of before. I think those are things that should be taken care of. I think that the Lord, even in that, can use people to heal you, but the sexual addiction needs to be under control in order to even come into the rest of that healing. And so, but yes, I think there are some things you do have to be ready. So again, like some active sexual addiction, sexual sin should be maybe healed. Some other things where it's like, you should constantly be working on things where if you did meet your spouse, hey, am I like 8 years behind where I'd want to be if I want to get engaged in a year? You shouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to willy-nilly.
I'm just going to wing it.
I'm just going to wing my life right now. And then when I have a spouse, they'll make me shape up. Because, and this is another thing, when you start dating, you are going to attract what you are and where you are. So you don't have to be perfect because no one's going to be perfect. So you can't be perfect before you start dating. But where your spiritual maturity is and what you work towards, that's what you're going to attract. So it's kind of a really in the middle. You're never going to be fully healed. So you have to get out of the idea like, I'm going to be fully healed from everything in my life, because you're only going to notice things you're not healed from when you get in those relationships. So you couldn't possibly know that. That's the beauty of relationships. But I think the things that you should be working on, I think you should be asking the Lord, what do I need to heal from before I am ready to be a great partner to someone? And so maybe that's a lot, but
it's true.
But I think that gives you some things to chew on, to think about. It's a really ambiguous question because you're never going to be fully healed till you get to heaven with the Lord. So it's really a journey.
To sum it up, if you are wondering, well, should I go on a date with this person, but am I enough? Am I ready? Am I healed enough? I would just say go on the date.
Yeah, I think so too.
And have good mentors in your life. Don't do it alone, but just go on the date.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to hurt anyone. You just go on one date.
If you're on one date and you are like, I'm going to leap across this table because I'm lusting after you so much.
Then maybe there's a few
maybe go home, get a mentor, pray about it. You have some more things to heal on. I think if things aren't that bad, there's no harm.
You're probably doing fine.
You're probably okay.
You're going to be just fine. No worries.
It's the pouncing that'll get you in trouble.
And if you can resist that, then you have self-control. Praise God.
We were nervous about recording this because we knew we were going to laugh the whole time.
You can also tell that, we should have said this beforehand, you're Italian, so you talk very fast.
I do, so I apologize.
You can't even see how much she's using her hands right now.
No.
She almost hit me across the face.
I've almost moved this microphone about 82 times.
Okay, so great. You're getting informed. We're so proud of you already. Next, if you want to start dating, just start. Now, one of the listener questions that came in was, how do you even start dating, especially if you've never dated before? First of all, no shame, because there was always a season or a time in our lives, each of us, where we hadn't dated before. You're not alone in that. A common mistake that could be made is you may think, well, if I ask out a guy, then I would be leading the relationship, or that would be doing it the wrong way. But how could you start if you never put yourself out there?
Being assertive, I don't think means that you're leading the relationship. I think for someone like me, who I have a much stronger personality than my husband. I am a Jersey Italian through and through. if you know the Enneagram at all, I am an Enneagram 8 to a T. If you took a picture of the stereotypical Enneagram 8, it's me.
Your picture.
It's me. I think so many people had to read the book to type themselves. And I was like, fear of vulnerability. Okay. That's
check,
me.
check.
And I was like, how did you get this information if I've never spoken to you? And so I understand what being assertive feels like. And then I don't think asking a guy out would mean that you are leading the relationship. I also, though, think it means, hey, does it set a precedent with this guy that maybe he wouldn't lead other things? Because maybe a guy's shy. And maybe
he's just shy.
And maybe he doesn't know if you're interested. And that's happened before, where maybe someone asks you out that you wouldn't even consider before, but you're like, oh, I would consider being interested in them romantically. And that might be happening. And so I think it's no problem to ask a guy out. I don't think that means you would be leading the relationship if you ask them out. But start dating, that we talked about, Jenny, is you got to put yourself out there.
You can't just expect to be asked out if you're only hanging out with other girls.
Yeah.
Inside your own home.
Yeah. You can't. Nobody's going to know. Nobody knows you're
No one knows you exist.
No. I think even in today's day and age, people are really apprehensive about dating apps and stuff, which I understand. But if that's the only way you might meet someone, and you do, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It could get you on dates with people you would never see in person otherwise.
Yeah. So I think, and I know couples that have met on date that are very happy and healthy, God-loving relationships, but you do have to put yourself in space with Christian men and in spaces with Christian men if you want a Christian husband. So you're not going to space where it's like, okay, I put myself in a space with some men, I'm ready to go. And then you're like, I'll just weed through them and find the one Christian in here. We're talking about getting involved at church, in small groups, being willing to be set up with people on blind dates, giving people chances maybe that you might not have given chances to before. But the real first step, you gotta get out there. You have to be willing to get out there.
Meet some people.
Yeah.
Our next listener question was, what does dating casually look like as a Christian? Genius question. Thank you for sending that in. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people might make the mistake of not going on one date because they think, oh, that's too much pressure, or I have to find my spouse, and I don't know if this is my spouse. How are you supposed to know if it's your spouse if you don't take the time to get to know them? So if you're just getting to know people, I think of dating casually more like making friends, because you're just getting to know people. Yeah. No one's committing to anyone yet. You're just seeing if this is a person you want to hang out with more.
Yep. If they've got a ring on the first date, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag. I would run.
That's not the normal way to casually date. You should get away from that in general. I think the same thing. It's not going to be ghosting people. It's going to be clear communication. It's going to be willing to have conversations after, maybe some days, like, hey, I really like you as a friend. I think sometimes people get so nervous to hurt other people that they'll either ghost people or they'll drag things on longer. And I think that's what makes casual dating hard, where you have to be willing to be upfront, and then you also have to be willing to receive that well. If someone, went on one date with you and is like, hey, I just didn't see this going anywhere romantically, I think you're a great person,
then that's not really personal.
No.
Something you should not take
There
personally.
are so many people I love so dearly that I wouldn't date.
Yep.
And that does not mean I don't think they're amazing. I'm very close friends. I've always had a lot of close guy friends. I wouldn't date any of them. I didn't.
I didn't.
And so you don't want to be someone who's easily I think sometimes you might, and that's okay, but it's also being like, Lord, this isn't about me. How do I bounce back? I don't need to be, super upset and throw the towel in every time someone's like, no, I'm not romantically interested.
Yeah. If you're getting out there, that is a win.
Yeah, I think so.
What's that show called? What is it called? Oh my gosh. Oh, wait. I watched this season of Jewish matchmaking on Netflix. I watched it. I have no regrets. It was really entertaining. But this Jewish matchmaker who's done this for years and years and years and has set up tons of couples that have gotten married later, she said one of her guidelines is, if it's not a hard no, then it's a yes. So she just meant that if you're going on dates with someone and there's nothing that's like really sticking out saying this will absolutely not work, absolutely not, then just keep going out.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to get to know someone.
Yeah.
So if there's not huge, ginormous red flags, then just keep saying yes. And
I think
it might go somewhere.
That's great. Even with us, look at us. I mean, we had been in a small group for over 6 months and had no idea we'd be as good of friends.
I had no idea you were funny.
Jenny and I laugh all the time. We see each other at least once a week.
I just kept going to small group and it really worked out.
And you even see that with friendship, where it's like I see some of the best friendships in my life because they were cultivated over a period of time, and then you click and you see that. And people don't give that chance to romantic relationships because there's this idea that there has to be an immediate spark, an immediate butterflies. And I think even attraction to someone can come once you get to know their personality. So I think that's really great advice. I think I would also say with casual dating, you don't want to be like the, I don't know the Christian term for like an F-boy or like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't
like
know if there is one.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like where you're dating every girl or
around.
Every guy you can think of, and you're not technically doing anything wrong with them, but you are kind of being a little of a player in your heart where you just want attention. You're not actually wanting to seriously date. I think that's totally different than going on a few dates, even with different people, and figuring it out. I think it's the heart behind it where you genuinely want to find a spouse. You genuinely are interested in getting to know these people. You're not just being like, I'm going to take every date that I can see with my 2 eyes and then doing that.
The next listener question was, what are good questions you can ask? Well, there are many.
You could ask
we
questions.
We could literally go on for days.
You could ask questions till the cows come home.
Moo! But a few questions. If you really want to get to know someone, their faith is important to you, ask questions about their faith. What does that look like for them? Because you could both say, I am a Christian, but it could look very different for both of you. You never know.
Yeah. I think Jenny and I were talking before this when we were talking about just these questions that you guys asked. There is something that the Bible does talk about being equally yoked. And I think it's especially true in marriage because I think there'll be times, and again, dating is all with the idea of marriage in mind. And it may be far away, but you want to kind of keep things close to your chest because you don't want to get 6 months into a relationship, emotionally invested, and then be like, hey, wait a second, all of a sudden.
I don't know if this is working out.
I'm not sure, because being equally yoked is so important because as you get into marriage, you'll see you and your spouse are going to go through different seasons. And all of a sudden, maybe they're going through a drier season and a hard faith season, and you're given more than they are in different seasons. But you want to know that your faith is in a similar place before you start dating. You want to know their views on things. If, for example, the type of church you go to is important. The denomination. Is that something you're willing to compromise on? Things like that about their faith. What are your deal breakers? What are some things you're like, I'd pray about this and I'd be willing to have my mind changed. I think also we talked about just things like sex before marriage. I think following the Bible's concept of purity and what Jesus and God intended from the beginning. And I think it's a really important conversation to have early. And some people don't agree with me on this, which is totally fine. Some people might think differently. I really think one of the first dates you should talk about it. That that you're going to be romantically interested. Not one of these first, dates where you're like
I just
getting to know you.
Yeah.
I think one of the first dates where you guys know you're both romantically interested in each other. This has been, you've been on a few dates. Bring it up early because this is something where I see people, and especially even my Christian friends, compromise so much on in things they had really strong beliefs and convictions about earlier in the relationship that they hadn't wanted to bring up. They hadn't wanted to talk about with, it was embarrassing, or they didn't want to seem too legalistic, or they didn't want to seam too, you know what I mean? You don't want to turn someone off, but then they compromised later on in the relationship. And so talk about what does that look like for you? What has that looked like in your background? What does it look like now? I think be willing to offer a lot of grace in this area. I think that's why it's an uncomfortable conversation because you don't want to be too legalistic. Someone like me, I needed a lot of grace in this area. My husband and I waited till marriage to have sex, but I had sex in the past before I started dating my husband. So I was someone who needed a lot of grace, but it was something that we talked about early because it sets the precedence for the rest of the relationship. And so talking about that before marriage. Before dating.
Yeah, definitely.
You should definitely talk about it before marriage.
Definitely. That's a great point, Danielle. Thank you for bringing that up. And you also don't want to be with someone who, if you tell them what you have done in the past, whatever sins, that they'd be like judging you for it, or be like, ooh, I don't know if I can date you because of what you've done in the past. You don't want to be with someone like that. So those things, definitely more serious questions that you can ask. Everything else can just be lighthearted, get to know you questions. Don't overthink it.
Yes. I think also just going with that, another serious topic, and we, again, have touched on a lot of this, just any maybe sexual addiction. I think porn is a big thing. It's a very shameful topic for a lot of people, unfortunately, because it's bad. It's a bad thing, but we shame it a lot. So people really keep it under wraps, and it affects the majority of the population. I think really talking about what that looks like going into a relationship, because some people might have things in their past that really triggers, that you don't think you could be in a relationship and it would be healthy for you if they were, one, in that active addiction, or two, that is something that you just don't think you might be able to handle in a relationship if it came up multiple times. And that's okay. I think part of healing is some people have sexual trauma in their past, and different things are going to trigger that go with physical things, which is why I think it's so important to talk about in the beginning. And you need to know yourself. I don't think you need to be fully healed from it, but I think sometimes you might be a better match with someone who wouldn't trigger all of those things right away. I don't know what you'd say about that, Jenny, but that's maybe just a little tidbit of advice.
A little tidbit. It's an important question. You need to know, like, if that is part of their past story or current story, you just need to know if they're getting help. It's different to be like, yeah, it's a problem, but no, I'm not actively seeking help or accountability. That's an issue. That's the red flag, not necessarily that they struggle with it.
Yeah.
The red flag would be, I'm not getting any help for it. So
this is just something that's happening.
It's just part of me. I don't know what to tell you.
Them being willing to change, convicted about their sin. People are going to be tempted by things, and people are still going to sin, believe it or not, in your relationship. You're going to sin against each other. You're going to sin. So, I think that's a great line, Jenny.
Thank you. The next question is, how sure do you need to be about someone before dating them? Well, the answer is not very sure at all.
Yeah.
So if you're just going on dates, you don't need to know. You don't need to know how sure you are. Who cares? You're getting to know them. When you decide to be exclusively dating someone and get into a real relationship with them, then I would say know them fairly well.
Yes, I think you should be pretty sure that you want to date them when you're dating them. I think it's fine if you're not 100% sure you want to get married. Right. My husband and I actually went through this. I went to Cyprus for 3 months in the beginning of our relationship, and I came back, and it was one of the first times we saw each other. And we went out on a date, and then all of a sudden we get in a car, and I was like, what is wrong? And he starts crying. Aww. And he was like, I'm just not 100% sure we're going to get married. He's like, I'm like 99% sure.
I'm only 99%.
And I was like, well,
sure.
I'm not 100% sure I want to marry you either.
I hate to break it to you, but I'm less than 99% right now.
And he was like, oh. And I was like, that's why we're dating, and that's why we're not engaged, because we're not sure. I was like, I really like you. I think you're a wonderful man. I think you have things I'm looking for in getting married, but that's why we've only been dating for a couple months. And it was like this weight had been like lifted off his shoulders.
I feel better now.
Okay. I think sometimes as Christians, we put the pressure on you have to for sure know if you're going to get married immediately. You don't.
You don't.
I think there's a problem if maybe you're 4 years in and you're still like, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's the answer. But I think that's why you date. And so if you're sure that you like things about them, that you're romantically interested in them, that they have qualities that you are looking for in a spouse, that you want to continue to get to know and see about, date them. That's, I think, being sure. I don't think it's like, if they asked me to marry them tomorrow, I would, because
that's a lot of pressure to put on you.
That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself and a lot of pressure to put on them.
So, phase 1, phase 2, complete. Phase 3, choosing. When you've actually chosen someone you want to be in a serious relationship with. The question was, What does it mean to go slowly, and what are the pros and cons of that? Take it away.
It's not jumping the gun.
No guns.
Jenny and I have a rule: no guns in dating.
No guns in
dating. Do not
dating.
jump the gun.
Do not
there
jump
should
it.
be no guns in dating.
Nope.
Of any kind, even jumping them. Jumping them, getting them, no guns in dating.
No guns.
I think that going slowly means guarding your heart and guarding the heart of the person that you're dating. That means physically going slowly. You guys have probably maybe talked about this is how far we want to go. And physically going slowly, I don't think you should go as far as you're ever going to go the first month, and you don't intend to get engaged for another 12 months. Mm-hmm. Because it gets harder when you have a ring on your finger, because your self-control really just tries to fly out the window on you. Yep. And sex in dating is not as it's intended to be. Again, you can look this up in John Mark Comer, but I've heard other people say this. When you have sex in dating, it does what it's not supposed to do. It hides red flags because it covers things. In marriage, you want it to hide problems. You want love to cover all. It covers the little things that you're like, oh, this is annoying me. And God gave it to you.
I can get over that,
together.
I guess.
Yeah. You don't want that in dating. You want a clear head. Mm-hmm. And so going slowly physically is so important. There's so many reasons why it's for marriage. But you're going to think, why is she talking about sex so much? It's very important in dating and marriage, guys. I think giving yourself the opportunity to get to know someone, I think it builds on a friendship when you're not that physical. And that has been so, so sweet for my husband and I. We are best friends before anything else. I mean, we are married. We are in love. We are lovers. Some people don't love that term. I think it's so sweet. But we're best friends above anything else because we went slowly. We know each other. We laugh together. We love being around each other. And I think don't build an imaginary person in your head. Don't expect it's so easy
when you go fast. You do build that imaginary perfect person in your head.
Yeah, when you're running on
go
these
slow,
feelings,
you can just understand who they are.
Yeah. I think when you're running on that adrenaline and those butterflies, you build them up to be this perfect Prince Charming, and nothing they do.
Butterflies in real life have a lifespan of 1 week.
Yes, they
only 1 week.
It's not realistic. And when you're just in this like head rush where all you do is think about them, you're building up this person that they're not, and it's not fair to you and it's not fair to them. When all of a sudden you're like, you are not this person.
Wait, you're not perfect?
Yeah. They never were that perfect person. And so don't build up a perfect person in your head. This all comes from going slowly. It's like chew slowly. A dessert that you really want to eat. Savor it. Taste it, chew it slowly, enjoy it. We were talking, you don't get your dating back. Being married is awesome, but dating was so fun, and all you do is think about, I want to get engaged, I want to get married. And then, the families are involved, and life gets hard because you're married, and it's so wonderful, but dating is just sweet. Dating is pure and sweet, and it's, don't rush through it. Really enjoy it.
Yeah. And don't believe love is blind, because that stuff happens real fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't say yes at the altar. So I would not base your love life on Love is Blind.
Do not base it on the Love is Blind show. Love is not blind.
No.
No.
You gotta see.
Yeah. You need both eyes open.
You need both eyes.
Both eyes open.
Next question, second to last one, is what's some advice you might have about dating someone, not dating generally, but specifically one person? Well, Danielle, you made a great point about this.
Yeah.
You said don't make assumptions. And I was like, that's so wise. Go on.
That's something that helped my husband and I when we were dating so much. Don't make assumptions about the other person. Don't make assumptions about their intentions about something. Don't make assumptions about, why they do things, or why they said something, or why they act a certain way. Give them every opportunity and every chance in the world. If they do something, it's so easy to be like, well, they did that to hurt me, and so I'm going to be furious. Or they do this because they know I think it's annoying. Or the opposite.
They hate me.
They do this, and that means they're so in love with me, even though they haven't specifically said they care about me at all. And so when you make assumptions either way, you are making someone, again, into someone they're not. And so always ask, always when you are, talking to them about something, say, I feel like this is what you meant when you said that. How is this?
Would you care to explain
I feel
yourself?
like you, are really romantically interested in me. We've been on 87 dates, but you haven't asked me to be your girlfriend.
What's the problem?
So that's something where it's like, you can't assume that
Yeah.
they like you because they don't want to make a commitment to you. Or vice versa, if they say something and you took it really personally. Hey, I feel like you said this and it felt like it was to hurt me. What were your intentions? So don't make assumptions and don't be afraid of getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I hear so many people say, well, dating is just so hard. I don't want to get hurt again. I just don't want to do this because it hurts. Life hurts. Everything in life hurts. Good relationships hurt. Love hurts. You are going to love someone so much you're going to grieve them one day. That's horrible to say. You will.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy relationships even hurt. And so if you are so scared of hurt, then you are never going to be able to be in love.
Mm-hmm.
Love builds resilience.
And it's vulnerable.
It's vulnerable. If you are so afraid of getting hurt, you can't date. How can you be in a loving relationship? You've got to bare your soul to someone when you get married to them. I mean, your naked body and soul. That's why God intended, we're back to sex in a minute.
I just can't shut up about it.
People are going to be like, why is this lady that constantly is talking about
purity? I just want to know how to go on one date.
All I wanted was to go on one date. I get that I'm not having sex. I get it, lady. Okay, please stop it. But you're gonna get hurt. You really are. In healthy relationships, you're gonna say something that hurts someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're so afraid of that, you are never gonna be able to talk those things out or figure those things out or bounce back from this. You have to forgive your spouse 1,000 million times
a day.
And you are gonna have to be forgiven 1,000 million times a day.
Yep.
And so you have to be like, God, I can make it through.
Mm-hmm.
And things are going to hurt. That's not a saying like, oh, it's going to be perfect, rainbows and butterflies. It's not. You're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
You have to get over this fear of that. Dive head first. The water is fine.
Bring your floaties.
Yes.
You're going to make it.
You're going to be okay.
If you do get hurt, you will recover. You're
Yes.
going to be all right.
You're going to be all right.
It's like when people have anxiety about certain things. And they'll say, well, I'm really scared to drive in a car. I'm really scared to, I'm really afraid of heights, whatever. I'm really afraid of making phone calls. And they have that anxiety. But then they say, oh, I haven't really felt that in a long time. I've healed so much. But then you realize that they just don't call anyone on the phone. They just refuse to drive. They're not meeting people. So it's not that they have overcome that anxiety. They're just avoiding the thing that gives them that anxiety. That is not the same thing as being healed. So if you're afraid, that's all right. Just embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's afraid. Nobody wants to actually.
No one wants rejection.
No. Nobody's like, I'm looking for it.
I love that feeling. It is the best.
I'm ready to go. So I think you're good to go with that. And when we going back to one of our other phases, if you're being clear and communicating well and being honest, then I think it's going to mitigate a lot of that hurt. And when both of you are doing it, it's going to mitigate a lot of what you were afraid of.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Last but not least, thoughts on dating a friend or dating within your own friend group? Oh my gosh. Great question. That is so scary to do, but it's the biggest risk because there's more on the line. If you're dating someone that isn't friends with your friend group, then it's like, okay, well, we could break it off and there's no real repercussions. We'll just move on. But if you're dating someone in your friend group, it's like, if we break up and it doesn't work out, how will our friend group change? Will we be able to move on and continue being friends? But that's a huge risk to take. So it could lead to such a big reward. You do want to date someone you're friends with. That's ideal, right? So it's hard, but it's a good risk to take. I think that's worth it.
Yeah.
And I would say make sure that other person is mature. Because if it doesn't work out and they're immature, then things could get really bad.
Yeah.
If they're a mature person, it's safer.
Yeah, I think so. And if you don't go too far.
Yeah.
Back to second. Won't bring it up again. But it really does affect everything. I don't mean to sound legalistic in this way at all. I'm trying to hammer the point home because when you go back even into the early steps of dating, you're like, oh, this is actually why that is important and not because true love waits or period culture, all the things. Get that out of your head. That's not even where we are. It's because it's so awesome and so good that we're like, just be careful with it.
Mhm.
Again, like in a friend group. How would we see all these TV shows where they're having sex with all their friends and they could just be friends after. It's weird for like 2 minutes.
TV.
That is TV. That is not real life.
I don't even know how that's possible.
That maybe it's real life to some people, but I think there's a lot of people in culture who are so desensitized to sex that it's like, you have other problems outside of this we have to take care of. Just in terms of how you think about it, I think it's just so special. It's so sad when someone's so desensitized that it wouldn't make a difference in that friend group. It's not Jenny and I don't think they're terrible people. We just it's sad because it shouldn't mean that much that it honestly would make it so weird, I think. And so I think it's huge risk leads to a huge reward. Like you said, it's so fun dating your best friend. And it's easy when that's already built with someone you're best friends with. And then the romantic stuff happens. I think that, and this is my opinion, a lot of mixed friend groups don't stay together very long. I think college, you guys are all on the same campus, you're hanging out with each other. Everybody goes off, marries their spouse. They move different places, they get different careers, they move back home. And so how long has this friend group been? Have you been friends since you were 2?
Right.
And if you break up, your families have just been like merged for Christmas for 80 years and it's going to be weird. Or is it like, hey, we're mature about this. We're going to take this slow, that even if it doesn't work out, we won't be weird about this.
Right.
And we can actually build something really, really great. Or, like I think Jenny said, if you are also not mature enough about it to be like, I could hang out with this person even if I felt like they hurt me in a group.
Right.
Just, I don't think take the chance, but I think go for it. Why not?
Jinx. Okay, I wrote this down. This was not someone's question, but it's such a common mistake. I actually see it all the time. See it with women I've mentored, women who I've talked to, who have mentored me, that there's a very big common mistake that I see a lot of girls getting into relationships or deciding not to get into a relationship because they realize this person said they are not called to do the same exact thing as I feel called to do. So I should just break it off or not go out with them. And I always get really suspicious about that because what we think we're called to can change. It can change with different seasons. We can understand more as time goes on. Be like, oh, I thought it meant this, but God actually meant this. So that's difficult. I would say if you are going on dates with someone and they feel called in this direction, but that's not exactly what you feel called to, I would say pray for discernment.
Yep.
It isn't necessary. You don't want to build your whole life around your calling.
No.
You want to build your life on Christ.
Absolutely.
So any thoughts about that, Danielle?
Yeah. I think
that wasn't a question, but I thought it was worth bringing up.
That's an excellent thing to bring up. I heard Stephanie Gretzinger. Is that how you say her name?
Yes.
She was talking about this, that Jesus only called people to himself.
Oh yeah.
We idolize this idea of calling because we're so individual in the Western church and in Western culture that our calling is most important. We can't possibly sacrifice our calling for anyone, anything. And it's not that we're doing it for God. It's that we're doing it because it makes us feel important. And so then when you meet someone and it's like, say you think, oh, I'm called to be some big evangelist. And this woman's like, well, I feel called to be big evangelist. And you're like, well, the both of us
do you know?
We are going to be rivals, so we couldn't possibly. Or, someone feels called to be on the mission field and you don't. I think what Jenny said, praying for discernment, because if God's calling you on the mission field and someone's like, I would never consider it, that could technically change. But you and your side could change as well. God can reveal a different type of mission field. I think, sometimes we take things that God tells us and we pigeonhole them in this area, and that's not where they're supposed to go. And so I think that comes to discernment. Like in that case, it's like maybe not. If they would never, ever, ever be considering that, and you are for sure, that's maybe discernment. Like maybe we wouldn't,
right.
Or maybe
that's a little different than oh, I've never thought about that. I'd be open to praying about it. Whatever.
That's because God will use you together, you and your spouse. And that looks different in different seasons. And I do something totally different than I thought outside of college. My husband does something totally different than he thought outside of college, than what he thought God was calling him to, than what I thought God was calling me to. And so if you base that off of that, you could be doing 8 different things in your lifetime.
And you will be doing a lot of different things.
Yes.
Your job will change. What you do will change. You might have kids, so things will change.
Things will change. And it's not about you. When you get married, even if you have a specific call, it's not about you. It's about you two together. When you get married, it's so that you can do more for the kingdom together than you could do separately. And so that is something that's so powerful. It's why marriage is so incredibly powerful. You are gardening together. It's this idea of gardening together.
I love gardening.
Yes, and God does too. And so it's you're gardening together. And so I think people, especially our Western church, we put calling on this pedestal that it shouldn't be. Our call is to Jesus. Our call is to follow Jesus. I have seen both, though. People, my friends, that have given up what they felt like they were called to do from the Lord because of a guy they met, and they just threw the baby out with the bathwater because they wanted to do something different. And maybe God called them into a different season, and, I just don't know that. But I think you have to be wise there. This is, again, where going slow comes into play again. You have to be able to make wise decisions and see those things. But it's okay, even if you start dating, I think, and you guys are on different pages, because guess what? That's the beauty of dating. You can break up in a couple months if they're like, I'm just not feeling good about this. I'm not changing my mind. Neither are you. You guys can split amicably. That's totally okay. So hopefully that's, what you were meaning by that question.
I was meaning that, yes.
I don't think it should. And it's prominent in Christian schools. It's prominent in Christian culture. So you're going to hear it. And maybe someone thinks differently than Jenny and I might think on this. But I really don't think it matters that much.
Yeah. When I was dating my now husband, we were talking about getting engaged. And I just had this thought of, well, what if God calls me suddenly to do something else? And he's not calling him to do that. What can I commit to being engaged and being married? But what if he does call me? So I was really confused. I called this mentor from back home. She was like, well, once you get married, God honors the covenant of marriage.
He's in it.
He's literally, he kind of created it. So
he is in that covenant.
So you don't have to be afraid of God calling you to something totally different. But you're like, oh, but I'm married, so I can't.
God knows that you're married. He knows. I have to let you in on a secret. God is
Tell me the secret.
God actually is aware that you're married.
Oh, okay,
he was there. He's actually the third part of the covenant.
Good.
He's holding you together.
That's a relief.
So if I'm going to tell you right now, God told me you know.
Oh, thank you.
So it's not as the cat's out of the bag.
So prophetic.
Cat is out of the bag. God knows you're married. Yes, God knows you're married. God is going to call you together towards things. And when you're at odds, the Lord is never going to be like, you have to follow me to this end of the earth if your husband won't come. God is in the covenant you made with that husband. Sometimes that has consequences if you knew beforehand and maybe it didn't change. Maybe sometimes your life is going to look different than what you thought, or maybe God alters the plans for you. I think God is a ton of different things you can step into as well. I think that's the other idea of a calling, that there's not one straight path for you, because you're going to mess up a million times. If that was the case, nobody would be on track. I think sometimes who you choose can set a different course for your life than a different plan that God had for you. And God will go by. God's not going to be like, I'm calling you and you're disobeying me because you're staying with your spouse. You are, when you make a covenant, you stay with your spouse, okay? So God is not going to call you somewhere and your spouse won't go. That's something you pray about, and your spouse maybe would have to answer for
you
to
in
God.
The same direction.
Exactly.
If you are married. Yeah.
And if, say the other spouse is, an example, sinning because they're not hearing God, they're responsible for that. You can pray in that. God is not going to fault you for being loyal to your spouse. But these are, again, things to think about when you're choosing, questions to ask, and where you just ask the Lord for discernment. The Lord is not going to, be like, oh, she married this guy, she's dating him. Oh, her life is over.
I'm just done.
I don't even have a plan that I can make for this one, because they are just so unsuited for each other. He will work through it. And so, I think, don't think too heavily into it. Be open to interpretations of what you thought were going to be changing, and have a good time. Like we said, jump in.
Have
The
fun.
water is fine. Have fun dating.
Have fun.
Not too much fun, but have fun.
Danielle, thank you so much for being the guest. I highly doubt this will be the last time you are the guest. Because I just
don't
think
bring that
the
sex before
listeners,
marriage
the
lady
fans,
on.
she is so annoying. All she talks about is sex.
And
sex,
I can
sex.
hear hand motions from all the way over here.
I bet the listeners are going to be like, bring Danielle back on immediately. Danielle also has her own podcast. So
Yes.
What's the name of it?
So our podcast is called Your Two Best Friends. It was going to be named something different. We've totally revamped the podcast.
Okay.
It's coming out in January, the
Woo!
beginning of January. And it's myself and one of my best friends, Annalise. We're just chatting about faith and life and trying to make a fun podcast.
Doing things.
Just doing the things.
Yep.
Just things that are fun to listen to. So if you've enjoyed anything that I've said, go listen to that. And if you haven't, please do not go listen to that.
Because you will not like it.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same person here as I am there. So it's going to be no different. You're not getting any new,
Exactly. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. And with that, we are signing off.
All right.
See you next time.
Love ya. Sayonara, Sandy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Head to Heart Podcast. It's a joy to record them and a joy to have you listen. Since you're a dedicated listener and made it to the very end of the episode, I have 2 gifts for you. One is that I have a free resource linked in the show notes for you. It's a resource created to help you take the truth you've learned either in this episode or in a previous one and apply it to your life. The second gift I have for you is access to my seasonal playlists. Every season, summer, fall, winter, spring, I create a regular playlist and a worship playlist that will be ongoing throughout the season. And you'll be able to follow it on Spotify if you need some good boogie tunes. Because let's be honest, in another life, I would have been a DJ. So you now have full access to meet all your seasonal music needs in the show notes. As always, I love hearing from you. So follow me on Instagram and send me a DM of how this episode impacted you. The handle is headtoheart_podcast. And if you would be so kind, leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the website. By doing this, you'll help me get more amazing guests on the show in the future. I'll be releasing new episodes to you every other Friday, so stay tuned and thanks for joining us.